Let's get into it. I am very sick right now. I wasn't going to make any videos for today, but somebody in the comments said that they're a recovering addict from amphetamines and opioids and all sorts of stuff, and that they just are thankful that I make these videos so they have something to listen to while they work out, and that got me right off my butt and ready to go, but I do apologize for the voice. Let's get right into it. Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, they're talking about the homelessness issue and how corrupt it is. And they touch on California a little bit, but we're going to touch on it some more because California has been trying to eradicate homelessness for a long time, and they are doing a terrible job. Let's just be frank about this. I'm going to show you Patrick Bet-David talking about this after the Joe Rogan clip, as well as I'm going to break down some numbers for you, and I'm going to show you Gavin Newsom talking about this whole thing. Absolutely ridiculous. Can't see why anybody would want to see that guy as president. Let's get into the clip. Don't forget about the Coach Colin Media page that I have going on. I swear I got a fever. I'm sweating right now. Hit that subscribe button. We got 2,000 subscribers. We're going for 3. We got 45 videos up. Let's get into the Rogan clip right now, as well as Tucker Carlson talking about good and evil touching on people. And it's not just the fact that everyone's corrupt. There are actual forces at play. Now let's get into this video. Let's go, people.
Here you go. Yeah, well, that's the confronting of reality. You're forced to examine your beliefs and why you came to those beliefs in the first place.
No, that is the beauty of this moment, though.
It is.
People are living intentionally much more, and it's also just much more interesting. It's not just, it's less shallow than it was, for sure.
I think so. I think it's more nuanced. People have more at least the people that are paying attention have a more nuanced perspective. But then you have the people that are in the echo chambers that are just digging their heels in even more. And you could spot them easily because they're
missing out because there's nothing more liberating than admitting you were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is like the moment of liberation.
Right.
And that's the basis of religion. It's the basis of AA. It's the basis of anything that improves you as a person is honestly admitting to other people, not just to yourself, that like, wow, I got that wrong.
Yeah.
And then you're free because then you don't have to hide it anymore.
Right. Very important.
And it's a beautiful thing. And that is like changing your mind. I always notice this covering politics that, a candidate would be like, I've got him on tape saying 10 years ago something different. And no one ever asked my opinion, but I always wanted to say, why don't you say, you're absolutely right. And the country's a lot different from what it was 10 years ago. And so my opinions changed too. Like, why wouldn't they? Because I'm not a freaking robot or a liar.
Also, I used to think this because of that, and now I realize I was wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How great is that?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's part of being a human. It's not being a flip-flopper.
It's the best part of being a human.
Well, this is an interesting time for that because you see people that won't do that. And you could recognize them easily because they're the first people to throw out insults. The first thing to do is they'll describe you in an insulting way, and then they'll say what they disagree with you about. They'll say something hard. They try to define you. You're far right, white supremacist, racist,
been there.
Yeah, they throw it all at you, and then they say what you said.
It's so funny. I got called racist and white supremacist so many times, but when I first was called that, I mean, it really stung, a lot because just of where I grew up and how I grew up, and those are like the worst things you could ever call somebody. And so I actually like paused for a moment and thought, am I? Which I think it's fair to ask yourself, like, am I a white, whatever that, I never figured out what that was. Am I a racist? Not really. And I thought, really, the people I dislike most are almost all white liberals, actually. So
you're racist against white people.
No, but I am white. My kids are white. I'm not against white people. I like white people. But no, it's not that. It's that. So a reporter once called me about this. Oh, you've been called racist. Like, no, actually, I really dislike you. If I were to sort of narrow down my bigotries, it's like people like you. I just think you're disgusting. I really mean it too. Racist. Okay, all right.
Well, it's a thing. I
don't think that works as much anymore.
It doesn't work. No. Well, I think a lot of the things that you overuse, eventually people realize, like, oh, you're yelling wolf again. Yeah.
Well, of course. And when people get hit with it and don't disappear, then it becomes obvious that it lacks power.
Well, it's also you're trying to use these words to define someone, especially someone like you that has so many hours and hours of talking about things. Like to try this reductionist perspective of someone to reduce them to this ultimately very negative thing and not say that they're a human being. And also the fact that it's done by the people that want to think of themselves as compassionate and kind, which is the most bizarre. The left is so aggressively incompassionate. Like
Well,
they're
that's
so
for sure.
aggressively unkind with
Letting people die of drug ODs on the sidewalk. That's compassion. No, it's
that
not.
whole thing is fucking crazy.
Well, it's cruelty, actually.
It is, and it's also when you find. Do you know COLIN Noirs?
I know him.
Yeah, great guy. He opened my eyes to the homelessness thing. We had him on the podcast, and he was explaining how he was in San Francisco, and he was like, "What is this? It's like they don't have any money for this? Is that what it is?"
Yeah.
Like, no, there's a whole business behind it.
Of course.
And these people that are running this homelessness initiative or whatever the fuck they call it, they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Some of them $250,000 a year,
Imagine making money off the homeless.
and not doing a goddamn thing.
But what's so funny is I do think the root of their power and the one thing they're good at is just charging the moral high ground and taking it in the first moments of the battle.
Yeah.
They just run up to the moral high ground and are
Yeah.
like, we've got this is ours. And they'll protect that at all costs. And it's like, that's kind of all they have is this self-righteousness. And if you can puncture that, it's like, you're getting rich from the homeless, actually.
Yeah.
And is there anything more disgusting than that? It's some junkie who's dying in misery outside the convention center in San Francisco, and you're making money on
They're
that?
essentially using those people as a battery to expand the power of government.
Yeah, and
Because-
their own personal advantage.
Yeah, they're expanding government. They're making more government employees. Now there's tons of people that are working on the homelessness problem, air quotes. And, they probably all have blue hair and they talk nonsense. And nothing's getting done. And no one's being punished for it. But when they did that study where they said that they had no data, like, how are you... What? You can't say whether or not it's doing anything?
Yeah.
How'd you spend $24 billion?
But why are they not treated as like the most reprehensible people in our society?
I think there's too many things to think about. And I
Yeah.
think most people, unlike you and I, aren't even paying attention to it. They're paying attention to the fact that the tents are there. They're paying attention to if you go to Los Angeles, it's a fucking zombie apocalypse. But what they're not paying attention to is what is going on. How many people are making money? I didn't even know until COLIN explained it to us. I had no idea. I thought it was just they don't have any money. They don't put any money in it, and they let these people sleep there.
Oh, no.
No, there's actual
there are
money.
all these parasites.
Yeah,
No.
parasites, government parasites.
Of course.
Those are real.
Of course.
And, this whole idea of, I've created so many jobs. Like, what jobs? Are they government jobs that are just bullshit? Because there's a lot of those.
What's crazy to me, just having spent most of my life in Washington, is how close this is to the lawmakers physically. So the U.S. Capitol sits across from something called Union Station, which is a really beautiful train station, right on Capitol Hill. And so to get into the Capitol, when there's a massive homeless city there, people dying of drug ODs right there. And so to get to work every day, lawmakers have to like step over the bodies of fellow Americans dying, living outdoors, shitting in the bushes, addicted to drugs, which is hell, okay? And they have to ignore that on their way to creating utopia in some foreign country. And you're like, does it ever occur to you that that's disgusting? That your
It's so
primary
crazy.
duty is to the drug addict, your fellow American, you're doing nothing? And you're telling me how we're going to make Eastern Europe into, this brave new world? I don't know. I just can't get past that. I think I'm not super sensitive or aware or anything. I'm not super anything, really. I'm pretty ordinary, but I think I would notice. I would. So I was like walking into vote on Ukraine aid. I'd be like, shit, there are like 5 junkies on the street. Like maybe we should do something for them? No.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very bizarre. It's bizarre that they can rationalize it, or at least that they don't get called out by all their people. And this idea that it's compassionate, you have compassion to leave these people and to give them aid and to help them and give them clean needles.
But then you've got to think like maybe there's something bigger going on actually. Because there's an entire sector of the economy now that feeds off of human misery. The drug treatment centers that don't work, the homeless advocates who create more homeless, the, migrant workers, American-born aid agencies, workers who, increase illegal immigration and gang activity. Just all this, people are making money off this. The arms manufacturers that help kill people in foreign countries, et cetera, et cetera. There's a vig in all of that. It's a scam, it's a grift, et cetera, et cetera. But like, there's something more. Like, there are a lot of people who seem to be just like for evil for its own sake. And you're like, maybe all the like crazy talk about a spiritual war of like good and evil, maybe there's something to that. Maybe that's not an illusion. Maybe that's like everyone else has always thought that. Maybe,
There are certainly forces that have evil consequences that exist.
but they act on people from the outside. And you feel it also on the other side. I mean, people are better than they naturally are sometimes. Like you feel compassion for people or true empathy for someone, or you really want to help someone. There's no advantage to you at all. Like, why are you doing that? It's almost
Right.
like you're being acted on by good. And all of us have known those moments where we just are cruel for the sake of it, hurt someone for the sake of it. What's that? There's no advantage to us. That's evil acting on us. And I think we're seeing it at scale. And like, I grew up in the most secular world you could ever grow up in. Southern California in the 70s and 80s, and in a very secular family. And I've never really paid much attention to that. And all of a sudden, not everyone, a lot of people I know who had similar childhoods to mine, similar life experiences are like, maybe there is like a supernatural realm. Maybe there's more than just like what we can see and feel. Maybe life is more than just ordering shit on Amazon. Maybe there's like a purpose. Maybe there is this battle between good and evil around us that we can't see, but that we do experience a lot.
I think he's right. But you know what I also think, especially after hearing about Diddy and hearing about Epstein and hearing about Harvey, there really is something to people being captured. You know, I used to hear that and I used to just think, oh, so they're greedy and they just want money. But when you hear the term like, oh, this side of this administration is captured, these people in this party are captured, certain people in both parties are captured. Like we're starting to learn that it's a lot deeper than just someone came up to them and gave them some money. Possibly. We are seeing all the avenues that it can actually go down. They can go to a party and not watch their drink, and the next thing they know, they wake up and someone says, pass this bill, and they say, no, I'm not gonna, I have to read it first. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, play the video. And like, it's not just happening to rappers. It's not just happening to R&B people or actresses or actors. I think it happens to everybody who could possibly be in the ranks to go to these type of big events, after parties, freak-offs, as Diddy called them. So when you actually do have that hanging over your head, you are literally captured. You have no choice but to do whatever they say, no matter how it looks, no matter how hated you become. Now, I'm not saying that's always it. I'm sure there's just a lot of greedy people out there, but I don't know. That term captured makes a lot more sense after hearing about Epstein and Diddy and all those people. You get legitimately captured. They have not only a hold on your body and control of what you do, but they have kind of a hold on your soul at that point. It's it's wild to see. But I do also believe that there is good and evil at play. And Tucker broke it down so well in another video I did in the podcast, where he talks about how evil will always play on weak people. And that's very true. Those forces will always play on someone that's weak, because a weak person is scared and they're insecure and all these things. And at the end of the day, because they're weak, they want to feel the opposite and they want to feel like they have power. So it's very easy for evil to get in there and start moving them around and, you know, making them feel better than they ever have. It's really, really possible. And then one thing that Joe just said, you know, when people say that they've created jobs, what kind of jobs have they created? I never thought about that. Anytime you hear we've created jobs, you think because the number one job of politicians is to the people, that's what it's supposed to be, right? So you think factory jobs or, you know, these maybe like lower level white collar jobs. You're thinking jobs for the people. But is that really what happens? It could just be a bunch of DEI jobs. It could be a bunch of people. It could be someone who teaches a seminar once a week about white guilt. That could be considered a job. There could be 10 of those people or 100 of those people. And it's like, we're going on this initiative for anti-racism. Like, we don't actually know what the jobs are. They should have to list those jobs. Wouldn't that be something? Since there's so many people without jobs, wouldn't an administration or a governor, local government, whatever, shouldn't they have to list all the jobs? So everybody without a job can be like, oh, there are jobs. Oh, because isn't that who it's for? I never thought of that. But what kind of jobs are they? Really interesting. Really, really interesting. Let's get into the rest of it now. This is very, very wild to see. Now, when they were talking about that whole homelessness thing, California lost track of $24 billion. This is not a conspiracy. This is not made up. This is really what happened. California lost track of $24 billion spent on the homelessness programs over the past 5 years, according to an audit that happened April 9th, 2024. The audit found that the state did not consistently track the outcomes of these programs, raising questions about the effectiveness of the vast spending in addressing the homelessness crisis. The number of people living unsheltered in California has soared despite the significant financial investment. Wow. Really? Here's what listen, I'll read some more on this. So, They lost it. So the state's failure to consistently track the outcomes of these programs and the lack of centralized system to monitor and evaluate their effectiveness. Let me know. Does this sound too crazy? Maybe this sounds authoritarian. I don't know. If they lose track of $24 billion and it goes from governor to local government, bunch of jobs, bunch of people in charge, people who have the homelessness jobs of making sure to fix the problem, shouldn't all of them, first off, shouldn't they be in so much trouble it's not even funny? That's first. Shouldn't this be the only story that's going on right now? You lost track of $24 billion. So shouldn't they all be in trouble? And also, does it sound out of line that all of these people should have to show their bank account? That's the first thing that comes to my mind. I want to see everyone's bank accounts. From Newsom to a mayor, to local government, this person, anybody who had an encounter with this money should have to show something, because $24 billion, I don't think it's out of control to say someone became a billionaire. Someone has 9 figures. Someone is rich right now because of this. There's no way. How could you miss homelessness? How could you miss the target? Just throwing 24, you would think just throwing a few $1 billion, you'd be like, look, we had some effectiveness. Look at that. More effectiveness. They've had no effectiveness whatsoever on the whole issue. And they spent $24 billion. And again, I say spent very loosely. I don't think it's out of control. YouTube, don't come after me for this. This is not a crazy thing to think. I constantly have to have YouTube review my videos manually. So whatever person's reviewing it, hey man, come on. You got to let this video through. This is ridiculous. 24 billion. I'm not out of line saying somebody took that money. It's not out of line to say that. What else could have happened? That's what I wonder. So Patrick Bet-David, he addressed this on his podcast. So he's going to break down some numbers. He's going to talk about it a little bit. Let's get into it.
California lost track of $24 billion spent to combat homelessness. Imagine how much money you've lost before that you kind of lost track of. I said $2,400 cash. My dry cleaners gave it to me. Vinny said $500. Tom said $500. Adam said never in a million years. But Gavin Newsom is the GOAT.
Right.
A recent California state auditor report reveals that the state lost track of $24 billion spent over the past 5 years to address homelessness. Lead auditor Grant Parks emphasized the lack of sufficient data to prove the fund's efficacy in improving the crisis, stating that the state has not collected sufficient data. The audit criticized the California Interagency Council on Homelessness for its failure to consistently track and evaluate the state's efforts in combating homelessness. It noted that Cal-ICH has not aligned its action plan to end homelessness with its statutory goals to collect financial information and ensure accountability. This is why people don't trust giving money to taxes, because you don't know what to do with the money when you do receive it. End results. Raising concerns about accountability, Assemblyman Republican leader James Gallagher criticized Governor Gavin Newsom directly, accusing him of making a splashy announcement, wasting a bunch of taxpayer money, and completely failing to deliver. Tom.
Excuse me. They know exactly where this money went. They know exactly what they did with it. We were talking, remember, if it's a bill, it's basically a fraud lasagna. That's what, remember we talked about that. The bill on, this is the border bill. $60 billion and $12 billion was going to the border or whatever those numbers were. And in the middle, it's a fraud lasagna. California knows with this. They made a bill there for California homelessness. And if you came in and did an audit of this, you would find out what they really spent it on. And like the federal government, this thing was probably riddled with earmarks when it went elsewhere. And so what they don't want to do, they don't want to talk about what they really did with the money. So they're just saying, well, we lost it and we can't keep track of it to combat homelessness. And now finally somebody, Breitbart, this isn't going to be local news. This isn't going to be CNN. They're going to protect Gavin Newsom, their anointed man in waiting to run for president. And so this is a fraud. The taxpayers should call it what it is. You spent $24 billion on something and you don't want to tell me.
Tom.
You don't want to tell me.
You know what's crazy, Tom? $24 billion. No one gives a shit. But for $20 billion to protect the border, oh my God, there's no way we can do that.
Wait, was our map half of that could have built the wall?
They could have built it for $5 billion, but I say overspent.
He overspent.
$20 billion could have built a border. And you could have combated many different things. But California gets $24 billion and they can't keep track of the money. And then you expect people to trust, like the other day, Biden says, if we are able to create a wealth tax and we gather $500 billion $500 billion over the next 10 years from the billionaires, are we going to be able to do such great things with that money? And all I said is, do you have a track record of doing anything with the money we're giving you? And especially in the state of California, $24 billion given to you to fix homelessness and you can't fix it? And you lost track of the money? You think you have any moral authority with anybody? No wonder so many people are leaving this great state of California and sick of your bullshit.
And guess what? Californians, you guys had a chance to recall this snake in the grass Newsom. And just look at his resume. I hope everybody's keeping track because, again, that face isn't going away, all right? Just all the drugs that are happening. I remember I did jury duty downtown PBD, and as I was coming down to go to my train, I'm coming up, some young kid is shooting up and pulling out and then sucking the heroin out of his arm, and a cop just walks by. Nobody cares. Nobody's stopping them. Look at all the immigration problems that they're having. All the, kissing China's ass, doing everything. And now he has this. And by the way, I sent Rob this video of Gavin Newsom's 16-year, which is today, 2024, of his 10-year plan to end homelessness. Look at this. Look at this snake and all of his BS coming out of his mouth.
So this is where they play a whole little compilation of things that have been going on with Gavin Newsom, things that he's been saying. But the music is from a very well-known show, and you actually can't play it. I'm going to go back to them, but I actually just want to play something for you guys really quick. Gavin Newsom just talking about this whole effort. And this is a year ago, where he was talking about $1 billion in funding. There are people who want to see this guy as president. This is remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
Governor Gavin Newsom announces plans to tackle homelessness here in California. He sat down exclusively with our Capitol correspondent Eitan Wallace to talk about how he will do it.
Clean up these damn encampments.
A passionate Governor Gavin Newsom speaking with us one-on-one about an issue he says is top of his mind: homelessness.
People are dying in the streets, dying on our watch. It is a disgrace.
A disgrace he believes his administration could help turn around.
Good.
Today, the governor was at the Cal Expo Fairgrounds facility in Sacramento to mark the beginning of his 4-day tour across California, each day set to focus on a new initiative Newsom plans to tackle in 2023. As for this day number 1, he announced his administration will get up to 1,200 new tiny homes, just like this one across the state, including 500 in LA, 350 in Sacramento, 200 in San Jose, and 150 in San Diego County.
Those 1,200 small homes can accommodate upwards of 6 people in each, some just 2 to 4, and we'll get them deployed in a matter of months. And we're doing that in 4 cities in this state as a way to commit to a down payment of a more urgent approach.
And we're talking about 1,200 small homes here. What do you say to some who say, well, the federal government says there's more than 115,000 people who are unhoused on our streets? That is this just a drop in the bucket?
Yeah, it's one of 100 things we're doing. When you say 100, look at what we did with Project Roomkey and procuring hotel rooms all across this state. Look what we did with HomeKey. HomeKey is a national model, 68,000 people we've been able to get off the streets. Thousands of new units, hotel units that we've converted to permanent housing for formal homes. That's a component part. This is a very small component part. So I say they're absolutely right. You have to look at the totality of where our investment is going.
And speaking of investment, the governor announcing today his administration will send $1 billion in state homeless funds to local governments. That, he says, came after city and county leaders across the state changed and improved their plans to reduce homelessness from 2% to 15% over the next 3 years.
For some who say, well, it's just throwing more money at the problem, you say what?
Yeah, I say they're right if we don't require accountability. What I say is money is not the solution. More is not better. Better is better. Smart strategies, intentionality, focusing as we must We put $750 million specifically for encampments. It wasn't $1 3 years ago. We're giving the cities and counties money for encampments. We're giving them unprecedented amount of money on an annual basis for flexible funding, that $1 billion that we announced this week, but we are acquiring something for the first time in return, and that's a damn plan and accountability. No plan, no money.
And given
No plan, no money. Can you believe that? Again, some people want this guy to be president. Some people are like, you know what? He's just good. Bill Maher was saying that. He's just like, you know, he looks good. I love the guy. You love him. He has no plan, no money. And now they don't know where that billion that they're talking about from just last year, they don't know where that is. He's saying all these things. He's like intentionality, focus, strategies, smart. He's saying all these things, but none of it panned out. It's so crazy. And again, to that YouTube reviewer, because I know this video is going to have to get reviewed. Come on, just stop. Just let the video go. Don't worry about it. The advertisers would be fine with this. Okay? You can't just everybody can't be fine with California and not be fine with this video. We're just calling out a governor who is terrible at his job. Nice guy, I'm sure. I'm not saying anything derogatory, but I'm just saying California's a mess. And he actually said, no plan, no money. And everybody came to, and this is the thing, they said it went to all these local governments. Again, does this sound crazy? There should be some kind of body that just says, maybe the people who actually gave them the money, that just says, we need to see everybody's bank statements. I need to know what happened, guys. Because someone in this room has $22 billion. You look around the room and Gavin's just like in a mink coat with a gold tiara on. He's like, I don't know. You guys better give up that money. Everybody's driving Rolls Royces. This is insulting for you guys to be saying this about us. Okay? We didn't take any money. Big wad of money just falls out of his pocket. That's just grocery money. It's grocery money. You guys are ridiculous. I won't be chastised like this. Oh, man, there really is a whole business to this thing, man. And it's really sad to see. It's really, really sad to see that there is an entire business. But you know what? It makes sense. I mean, DEI, it's the same thing. I did a video once. There was a woman who actually has courses about teaching white people why they are a problem and how to fix the problem that they are. That's a real thing. There are real people who have careers in anti-racism, and it doesn't even make sense. There's a whole ocean of these fake jobs that aren't doing anything for anybody. And actually, now that it's been going on long enough, we're starting to see there's actually very negative impacts. I mean, again, if we talk about Boeing, what was going on at Boeing, there was so much of that. You know, and there's a lot of people who were like, oh no, like now when I see a pilot and he's a person of color, I can't even just be like, hey brother, good job getting in there. Now I have to be like, were you a flight attendant 6 months ago and now you're just a pilot? Is that what's happening? Is that what happened? And that's a real story. That really happens. Man, sad to see. I'll play a little bit more of the Patrobet David clip.
Bill Maher loves him to run for president. So Californians, that's what you keep voting for. That's what you're going to get.
Vinny, it's time for fun with math.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
How many homeless people are in California in February 2024?
151,000.
More than that, almost.
Chuck.
It's 181,000.
Close.
181,000. And if 181,000 people split $24 billion, that would be $132,000 per person. And if they got together in pairs, they could buy an average home in California.
Oh, wow. Yeah, but they're not. So where's all that money
They're not homeless anymore because every two of them now together.
When you get $24 billion, that $24 billion, a lot of it's going to go to people that are going to get a job working for the government. You don't put the $24 billion into people. Are you kidding me? You think that's what they're going to be doing? No, they're going to use that money.
I feel like in California, I feel like it's the movie Groundhog Day. Every time we talk about California, it's something nonsensical. The crime, the theft, the homelessness, the regulation, the taxes.
People are leaving. Yeah.
It's just like the U-Haul, Gavin Newsom. And then they'll always say, well, we're a top 5 GDP in the world.
Yeah.
We have a bigger economy GDP than India and the UK.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's all in Silicon Valley and in Hollywood, guy.
And mind you, Adam, all these people, all these Bill Maher's that are like, I love the guy. I love him. All these elites aren't affected by any of this. They're millionaires and they're in the hills. No homeless people bother them. They're not getting looted. They're not getting robbed because they have security out of the ass.
We can't do this.
Beautiful. I didn't listen to this clip fully when I should. I wasn't expecting him to say the exact same thing I did. I got to find this guy. I want to interview that guy, Vinny. He's great, man. But another thing that they brought up in this clip was the concept of a fraud lasagna. And I guess that's where there's some real things going on, some real things, and then just, it's not even a lasagna. It's probably like a space. Just, oh, there's money there, but it's in a thing, and I don't know. And, you know, we'll talk about it later. Like, it's probably one of those things, but a fraud lasagna. Think about that. And then spending money on the taxpayers, or spending the taxpayers' money. It's almost as if there are people who view the country as a bar that's failing. You know what happens when a bar is failing? It's on its last leg. The owner's pressured. He doesn't know what to do. He's just trying to make ends meet. He's just trying to pay everybody. And what do all the employees do? Because they know it's on the last leg and they could care less about the place. They start pouring bigger shots so they could get more tips. They start pocketing money. They start not recording this. They start cashing out a little differently. They start taking alcohol home. They start doing whatever they want because they know at the end of the day, they feel at the end of the day, this place isn't going to make it anyway. It's almost like that's how they're treating this. For them to just lose $24 billion. And that's what you know about. I haven't gone through every state and checked. That's just what you know about. There could be countless billions of dollars missing. And then they send, what was it, 60.8 to Ukraine? $60 billion to Ukraine? Wow, $95 billion approved to go all over the world? Nothing to the border? $24 billion gone? Man, it's very in your face. And I guess it always has been. I guess when you're younger, you don't see it. When you're 15, you're not really feeling it as much. But you know, as I get older, it's very in the face. I don't know if it's always been like that. Let me know if you're older in the comment section. Let me know if it's always just been so in your face. This feels very apparent. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's the internet. Maybe it's connecting us all more. We're seeing more. But it seems so blatant. For Gavin Newsom to be doing that interview and just be like, no plan, no money. And then also and the thing about it is, if you asked him about this, he'd be like, we know where it is. It's fine. Nah, we know where it is. We're smart, strategies, no plan, no money. We have good plans, focused strategy. He would just start saying the leadership. And people are just like, man, that guy, good head of hair on that guy. I'd love to see him as president. Oh my God, it's absolutely crazy. Clean up the people. You got people all over your floor, California. Come on, 181,000. Wow. Could you imagine, what is it? I believe it's calculated, I think it's more, but I think they say on the news and whatnot, 172 billion to Ukraine. Israel has received, let's just ballpark and just lowball and just say 15 billion, although it's more. You know, all these different things. Imagine what could have been done in America with all that money. It's very odd. And, you know, I had a conversation with my friend. He was like, you don't understand. He goes, this money to Ukraine and these places, this is like allotted money. They have a budget, certain budgets and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's no excuse though. Like if you know you have, like if I have money for a car in a bank account, and this money's supposed to go to my new car, and that's what I have allotted for my new car. But my house is falling apart, and the roof is like off, and like rain can leak in, and there's raccoons crawling in. Well, guess what? I know I said it's for the car, but I gotta fix the roof. Like it's just it seems like there's no common sense. There's none. And again, it goes right back to what Tucker said, because it seems so blatant and that there's no common sense that it must be evil playing onto these people. They must be captured. There must be some kind of force at play. Because you would think any person would have a conscience enough to not let things like this happen, to apologize, to say that they did wrong, to admit that they did wrong, like they talked about in the Joe Rogan clip. You would think. But yeah, you just don't see it anywhere. It's really, really, really weird to me. And I don't know how does all this stop? Like, I always maintain that everything should be nonviolent because you don't want to see violence, right? That affects families all over, no matter what side you're on. You hurt somebody, it affects their family. It's just bad. It's bad ripples through. But then I think, I guess you got to vote the guy out, whoever it is, vote the people out if they're not doing what's right. But then because of how by design the divide is between people, it's so hard to get people all on the same page. But it's clear that something's happening that is just bad. Like California is a great example. But what do you do? What do you do about that? You could petition. You have to, local level. Like that's always the things that I say. That's what I think you should do because that's the nonviolent way. And that's, you want to affect real change and you want to change the system throughout it. But I don't know, man. If you're losing $24 billion, that's a clear despising of the people that you're supposed to be working for, which is the American citizens. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think in the comment section. Like, subscribe, share. It helps tremendously. You have no idea. And other than that, I'm out.